Hey, what's up, Black Knight Nation? Sal Internado here with Seth Mendelson. This is a breaking news podcast. Some big news comes down about 2 hours ago, started to come down with Jeff Monken, Army's football coach, signing a contract extension with West Point. He will be with Army Athletics, I should say. Now that Army released a press release confirming that he signed an agreement. They said it's a multi-year extension. They did not go into the years specifically, but ESPN's Pete Thamel, who broke the story earlier today, said the contract goes through the 2027 season. Now, Seth, from my recollection, my knowledge, I'm a little bit, got a lot of things going on in the brain here, but I kind of remember Monken signed through the 2024 season originally. So I think this is a 3-year contract extension from what he had originally. So they rip up that old one. They give him a new contract, basically. And from what Pete Thamel's saying, it's going to be in excess of $2 million annually a year. So he's a pretty good salary there to coach Army football. And first off, I have my opinions. Let's get your opinions on the news earlier today.
I think this is pretty big news, Sal. The fact that they're signing him to this extension right now, and I think the original contract was through 2024, so it's a 3-year extension, and for a lot more money. I think this is, in my opinion, this is step one in a 2-step process. And the second step is going to be going into the AAC. And what I hear before the end of the month, there'll be an announcement coming. I don't think it's a done deal yet. I think if it was a done deal, we'd hear about it pretty quickly. But from all sources that I have, it's very close to being a done deal. I think Army is negotiating. Army is looking to get as much money as they can from the AAC. They got to pay for this contract. This is $2 million a year. Is a lot of money for a school that's attracting 30,000 to 35,000 people at most to a home football game. So I think that there's a lot of money coming from the AAC on this. And as I said, I think this is a step one. I think it guarantees Monken some security. And I think Army gets their man. Jeff has done a pretty good job here at the academy over his 10 years, and this kind of sums it up.
Yeah, so 66 wins Jeff Monken has, second to Red Blake's 121 all-time in Army history. He's the second longest tenured Army football coach behind Blake, 18 years for Blake. This is 10 years for Jeff Monken right now. And, by the time the contract ends, if my math tells me correctly, it would be 14 years at West Point. So, I mean, in the back of my mind, I've always said it from the start. And there's times where I kind of push toward it or not, that he wants to be the all-time winningest coach at West Point. Now, there have been other schools that have shown interest in Jeff Monken in the past. He's been close to being the Kansas head coach, and also Nebraska was also interested in pretty heavily. So, I mean, this gives Army a little bit of Army and Jeff Monken a little bit of extends the marriage, so to speak. And, the things that he's done at West Point really the accomplishments haven't happened, right? The 11-win season in 2018, the 3 Commander-in-Chief's trophies in 5 years, I think it was 17, 18, and 20. So in 4 years, and then 4 bowl wins. I mean, he's done a lot in his 9+ years. This is his 10th season, and this we also said this does too for recruiting. It's good for recruiting too, because now the kids know that, hey, Coach Monken's here. Like the kids that they're recruiting now that are still in high school know that he's going to be around till like these 2024 recruits, commits. They know that, if this contract is through 27, he's going to be there to the end of their, for their 4 years. Hopefully. So, I mean, it's a pretty big news. And like you say, it's kind of maybe the first domino. And, I guess coming off the Texas San Antonio win, they were 2-1. One of their bigger wins under his watch, no doubt. You said it was one of your biggest. Talk about that. We weren't able to have you on for the recap podcast. Talk about that. What you think that win did for them?
I wasn't able to get on the recap on Saturday, but what I would have said and what I am going to say is I've been following Army football for 60 years almost, and 57 years. And this was one of the best played offensive performances I've ever seen West Point have, and I think a very well coached game. The game I bring up that reminds me of this. You mentioned the Air Force game a few years ago, 21-0. I remember the Boston College game back, I think, in '85, where Army just decimated the Eagles at West Point. I want to say it was 55-7 or something. I may be off on that, but they killed them. This game reminded me of that game. They just offensively, defensively, there's some holes. Offensively, and I think it was a great statement going into a very tough, as Monken said, murderer's row. This was the first of 4 or 5 games of murderer's row. They won one. They got Syracuse, they got Troy, they got BC, of course, LSU. Right up in a row here. So they won the first one. That's all you can do, one game at a time. And now you go up to Syracuse, and then you have BC and Troy. And then, of course, LSU is going to be a struggle. But it was an impressive performance by their offensive team. And, the new offense that was just installed, we saw nothing in the first game against Monroe. We were all worried. I was worried. We saw a great performance against Delaware State, but no one put any stock into that because of who they were playing. And now here you see against a good team. UTSA is a good team, and they did everything right. Offensively, they did everything right as far as I could tell.
Yeah, it was quite a game. And now that this is this news comes out right on the Monday after they beat UTSA, and on the week that they're going to play Syracuse, an in-state rival. In-state game. I wouldn't say in-state rival because they haven't played in a very long time, right, Seth? So, I mean, it's good news. And who knows, maybe by the end of the week, we get some news on Army joining the conference. You hear it at the end of the month. Maybe it won't come as soon as I think it might come. But, just what Coach Monken has done and what the culture has changed the culture of this program, no doubt. When he first came here, he had a reputation as being a pretty fiery, he brought the triple option offense. It was here already, but he brought a more ground and pound triple option offense to West Point, I think, and it worked, right? And then college football evolves. This year, the team evolves into the shotgun offense, and we're, like you said, we're a little concerned on the first game, and then the third game against UTSA, they almost looked pretty much unstoppable, that offense against. UTSA's defense has some guys that are going to probably play on Sundays on their defense, and it was pretty impressive. Now we look into the future, and who knows? Once if they are agreed and they do go to the AAC, things change a little bit, right? You're playing the conference schedule, you're playing the same opponents. I know they flex them a little bit because I think the AAC will have 14 teams, so it's not, you won't play the same teams every year. They'll flex it a little bit, but we'll see what this holds. You're looking at, like I said, I always thought that he wanted to coach here. I know Mike Buddy, right? And you talked to Mike Buddy. I don't know if you specifically talked to Mike Buddy about Jeff Monken and his contract, but I know they want to keep him here for as long as Jeff Monken will stay. So I mean, lifetime contract. We've talked about a lifetime contract on this podcast, right? I mean, we talked about it just. And I think that maybe when it comes to the year before the contract's up every year, maybe you just keep on extending it out for as long as Coach Monken wants to stay here. I know he loves it. I know that he's very, very close to the community guy, family guy. So I know he loves coaching at West Point. I know, and it's a unique place, right, Seth? We talk about it all the time. You don't get an opportunity to coach players like this in college football often, right? With not just the guys, not just their on the field stuff, just off the field, what they're going to do once they graduate from the academy with serving in the Army. And, it has been a really good fit. And now that fit will continue.
Right. 2 points. One, I've talked to Jeff about living in near West Point, or living in West Point, and he talks about his family going down to New York City. He doesn't get a chance to go very much because of his work, but his family gets to go down and enjoy New York. And there's something special about New York. It's a busy place, but there's a lot going on. I think he likes that. The second point, I have not talked to Mike Buddy about Jeff's contract over the last few months, but my sense is that if they're going into the AAC, this is designed to keep Monken here because they need him, and two, to give him some confidence that the school's behind him, as the academy's behind him as he goes about building, transferring over to the AAC and bringing Army there. This is not going to be a cakewalk. I mean, there's a lot of people against West Point moving into a conference, into this conference or to any conference. There's some good teams in this conference, and they're good every year. Navy shows what we're up against. Navy has some decent teams, and they struggle. They've had some good years. They've been in the middle of the pack. They've been towards the front. Army can have to try to replicate what Navy has done. That's going to take getting kids to come to West Point who they haven't been able to get so far, and they need Monken they need to show support for Jeff Monken and to show him that he has time to build this. If they go into the league in 2024, which people are talking about, and that takes a lot of changes in contracts because there's a lot of schools that are going to have to drop to take on an eight game schedule. They have to have the players in place quickly to compete in this league. Nobody wants to go into this league and finish 0-8 or 1-7 in league play.
Yeah.
So this is a message being sent out to the community and also being sent to Jeff Monken is we believe in you. And I'm a fan of going into a conference for many reasons. You need him. You need Jeff Monken here.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that this year's schedule is maybe a little bit better than the conference schedule, the way that things are shaking out. So we'll see how Army handles and navigates this year's schedule and see if that, because I mean, if you can get through this year's schedule with, a bowl berth or whatever, who knows, they're 2-1 right now. Big game coming up this week at Syracuse will tell you a lot about the direction. If they can somehow, they're a 13-point underdog, if they can somehow pull out a win in the Dome, who knows? I mean, you have 2 winnable games coming up at home. So, I mean, anything, this will tell us a lot about this week coming up will tell us a lot about the season. It might even look into the future about, hey, playing a tough schedule. And, with all due respect, the AAC is not as good as it used to be. Teams have left like Cincinnati and Central Florida. And, you're getting teams in. But with all due respect, some of those teams are just not the caliber of those teams. With all due respect, a Charlotte is not the caliber of a Cincinnati or a Central Florida. But Army would be a good addition to that conference, I guess, if that's what happens. So much to talk about there on another podcast. But right now, if you guys are watching right now, we'll be on here for a couple more minutes. If you have any questions or comments you want to send us on Jeff Monken's contract extension, we'll answer them. Maybe plug our website while we're waiting for questions. Set the game story on UTSA. That's always up. We have a photo gallery also up from UTSA that I actually have to update if I get a chance. I wrote a quick thoughts piece yesterday. That's up on the website. And now this contract extension of Jeff Monken's is also up on our website. If we get any additional information on the contract, who knows what that could be, but I mean, we'll certainly add that to the comments. Tomorrow's Jeff Monken's press conference at 1:00 tomorrow. We hope to have a presence. If we can have a presence there live, we're going to. We'll try that. Well, of course, he'll be asked about the contract extension and staying at West Point for another, what is reportedly 3 more years after his contract at 2027. So, it's definitely a good time in Army football right now. Especially coming off that win, like we said, going into this big game, and some good news. And if
so let's talk about excuse me. Let's talk also about the stadium renovation that comes into play here too. They've raised I think it's 140 million or so. I might be off by $10 million dollars for the renovation. They need to raise 40 million more, according to Buddy and my conversations with him 2 weeks ago. They got to build some hype here, and by signing, these are all things that are coming together. They're going to have a beautiful, when this is done in 2 or 3 years, they're going to have a beautiful 38,000 seat stadium. They're going to ask for a lot of money for people for boxes.
Yeah.
West Point has a lot of support. They want to show that they're taking this seriously by keeping Jeff Monken here, by considering the AAC, which seems to be a logical move from a scheduling standpoint and a financial standpoint. We don't know about wins and losses. We don't know that, but we know about scheduling and finances. That seems logical. So all three of these things coming together at this moment over the next, over the last year, and now everything seems to be happening this month. We'll find out. This is something. This is exciting times at West Point, and the fact that they won, coming off a big win against UTSA and going into a Power 5 school like Syracuse, this is an interesting week to be announcing this. I think we're going to have. I wouldn't be surprised if we have more than one more announcement. I don't know what that next announcement might be, but. I think that the brass at West Point understand what they need to do to keep Army football relevant in a quickly changing college football world, and they're taking those steps quicker than they usually do.
We got a real quick comment here from Zach Baker. Can we go into a little bit more detail on the positives of going to the AAC, Seth? You want to take that?
Yeah, sure. Zach, I know there's a lot of people out there who say that they don't want Army in the league because of what happened with Conference USA, almost 20 years ago now. They left almost 20 years ago. And I get that. Conference USA was a disaster for West Point. But in conversations with people at West Point and in the local college football community and also national, Army's in an interesting situation where they risk not getting enough teams coming into Mikey to play to make it the football team financially viable. You have the CBS Sports contract. You can't go and play Delaware State, which hits no ratings, or teams like Delaware State, and beat them 57-0 or not, and expect CBS to stick around. So you have to you have to go out there and get a schedule. Put yourself in a situation where you can have decent teams coming in. I understand the downside. Army may be outmanned. We hope with Jeff Monken and everything else that's going on that they can get better recruits. So you have to go 5 years down the road and say, where's college football going to be? None of us know that. But what we do know, it's changing, and you have to be aligned with somebody so you have the right the right schedule and the potential to win. Also, as Mike Buddy said to me a number of times, they want to be able to put themselves in the getting into this college playoff. Is it going to happen? Not often, maybe not ever. But you want to be in the situation where you have a chance. If you're not relevant, you might as well drop down to the lower level. And they're not going to do that. They're not.
You want to be looking. You want to be looking on the outside. You don't want to be looking from the outside on that, right? And so, I agree with the money. Let's say the money is an important reason to do this, right? Because you're going to get money from the AAC through the AAC. I'm trying to think. I should know this as a longtime beat writer, but say well, there's bowl money there too, right? There's bowl affiliations through the AAC when Army doesn't have a bowl tie, sometimes it's wondering where they're going to play and stuff like that, and they could be slotted in through the AAC too in the bowl picture. That's something I just came up with off the top of my head, Seth. That's
but they may be working their own deal. Army does have bowl ties for the next 4 years, and they're a popular team. The Army, Navy, Notre Dame, these are national Air Force. Yeah. These are national teams. So I think the reason we haven't heard from the AAC yet or a deal is that they're probably negotiating the bowl ties and the TV contracts. I think Army probably wants to maintain their CBS Sports deal. In my opinion, the AAC needs Army more than Army needs the AAC at this exact moment. That could change soon. And I'm also still hearing that Connecticut is on the market. They want in.
They're on the market.
For football only, they want in. I have to say one more thing. Buddy said to me in my conversation, it was a great quote. He goes, "We're not sending our volleyball team 7 hours on a plane to go play somebody, on a Tuesday afternoon. We can't do that. We take our academics too seriously." That was kind of in my opinion, that was kind of a hit at what's going on with the ACC, with Stanford and Cal playing against Syracuse,
Yeah.
Boston College in field hockey. This gives Army that benefit. You can go into this league for football only, and then play in the Patriot League for almost every other sport. I think except for hockey, they're in the Patriot League. This is perfect. Now you got to win. Now you got to win.
Yeah. And one quick thing before we go off, I don't know if you when you said about recruiting and how they have to recruit better players, right, to play in this conference, they're not going to a Power 5 conference, Seth. They're not going to a conference where they're going to play like Michigan, Ohio State, and Wisconsin in a season. The AAC is a solid conference, but it's nothing like that. So I mean, they don't have to. They're recruiting. Yeah, if we follow Army recruiting, we know that that's a major, major, major part of their program. They're a nationwide recruiting base. They put a lot of time and effort into recruiting. That's not going to change. Are they going to be able to draw more recruits because they are going to enter the AAC? You know what? I think having Coach Monken around is more important. Having Coach Monken around the 2027 is more important in recruiting than joining the AAC, in my opinion. That's in my opinion. So I don't think that's really that much in play. I think sometimes, like I said, the AAC was a pretty good conference, a couple of years back. Right now, it's got some moving parts in it, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, right now Memphis looks pretty good in the AAC, right? They beat Navy by 4 points last Thursday night, I believe. But I mean, UTSA is supposed to be one of the best teams in the AAC, right? And
Yeah.
Army went on the road and beat them. So who knows what? And the ever-changing college football landscape. Who knows what is the AAC going to look if Army joins the AAC in 2024, right? Is it the AAC going to look the same in 2024, in 2027? Probably not, right? Probably
Don't know
not.
what anybody's going to look like.
Yeah.
We never talk. We don't talk much about Air Force as we do about Navy. But look what Air Force has done in the Mountain West Conference. They're always almost always in the top of the league. They don't win it, but they usually finish second, third, fourth place. This year they have a dynamite team, and they're out there recruiting. They do. They're probably the best team in that conference. Certainly one of the top two, and I think they're favored to win the division. They're out there recruiting kids to play in the Mountain West Conference. Army has to recruit kids to play, if they go into this conference, to play in the AAC. If they can do that, they'll be competitive. This isn't 2000 with a different coach and a different mentality. College football is different. I believe they can compete in this thing. I think it's a win-win all the way around. Keeping Jeff Monken here, getting him signed up, that's a message. And it's a message to, like I said before, Monken, and to the fans and to people like us who sit there and talk about this, that they're serious about being a college football team, not Power 5, but certainly the group of 5, and be decent. Let's see what happens. I'm excited.
Yeah, we'll see what's next for Army. We know that they're going to Syracuse on Saturday. Black Knight Nation will be there to cover the game. We look forward to that game. I personally have not covered a college football game in the Syracuse Dome. I'll always call the Dome up there. I covered high school football championship games up there, a couple up there, but I've never covered a college game. I've seen an AAU tournament up there when my stepson was in AAU, but this will be my first college game. And Seth, I expecting, like I talked about this on the podcast, and we'll get off after this. They made a big deal about the environment a little bit. We'll post a Zach Baker's comment in a second. They made a big deal about the environment in the Alamo Dome on Saturday. Amp that up by like 10 times at least for the Syracuse, right?
Well, let's see what they draw. Syracuse. Okay. I went to North Carolina State game up there last year, and They didn't sell out. They were 5-0 at the time. They won. They beat North Carolina State. They were ranked 17th after the game. They ranked 24th going in, and they did not sell it. Holds about 50,000. They had about 45,000.
Okay.
My guess they'll draw about 35 to 40 for this game. They're 3-0. There's a lot of buzz right now. They think they're going to win this game. A week from now, they're playing Clemson. A week and a half from now, playing Clemson. That'll be at home. That'll be a sellout. Syracuse is a loud place to play at. The field is right there. You're right on the field. There's not a lot of room like there was at the Alamo Dome, I believe. It's a smaller stadium, so it will be a bit louder, but I don't expect a huge crowd. 35,000. So we'll see what that happens. And believe it or not, Army actually travels well up there. Last time I went to an Army game back around it wasn't a 95 game. It was the one before that, 89, I think. There were about 10,000 Army fans there.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of Army fans traveling, no doubt. It's definitely, 3.5 hours from West Point, and sometimes those fans come from, the tri-state area. Army's got a decent amount of fans that travel from like Pennsylvania, Connecticut to the games, and that might be just not far of a ride either. So,
Fort Drummond's an hour away, and
there you go. Good point, Seth. Yeah, so it'll be exciting. We'll get off right now. Thanks for watching our breaking news podcast on Jeff Monken signing a contract extension through reportedly the 2027 season. Check out our story on Black Knight Nation. Check out, if you're watching this on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. We're inching closer to 1,000 subscribers here, and we really appreciate you guys watching us. Seth, thanks for joining us on an impromptu podcast, and we'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.